So our legacy business of the year is a business who's been here 25 years or longer, but man, this one's been way, way longer than that. So let's bring up James Drug Store. Yeah. Who knows when they were established? Back in the Depression, yeah, it's some good stuff. They're a legacy business. They began in March of 1932. They were founded by D.P. Doc James and then Denham Springs Mayor Gay Cooper. The pharmacy opened during the Great Depression. In later years, it was housed the local Greyhound bus station where military personnel departed to serve their country. In 1971, Herman Crotwell purchased James Drug Store, and under his leadership, it grew into one of the largest pharmacies in the state. In 1988, the location moved to Florida Avenue, where its soda fountain became a gathering place for neighbors and friends, and the pharmacy later moved to its current location on Florida Avenue. It was among the first pharmacies in Louisiana to adopt computer technology and continues to lead today. Still locally owned and operated, all Livingston Parish residents, James Drug Store employs 25 team members, many of them with decades of service, and more than 7,000 customers a month. And I thought that with that kind of legacy, that they deserve the mic for a minute and tell you a little bit about themselves.
Well, what I was going to say was included in that introduction. So anyway, I wish y'all please bear with me because I'm going to be speaking from my heart today. We accept this in honor and memory of my dad, Herman Crotwell. He'd be proud of this. And back in 1932, if you can kind of think about how things were in Denham Springs, Mr. Siegel Hunstock, who worked there probably close to 60 years, would tell me stories, and he'd say horse-drawn wagons used to bog down right out there in Range Avenue. He said it would be, because that's where our first location was, 215 Range Avenue downtown. And so he would say they would bog down and try to think of those things. As you mentioned also, we were a Greyhound bus station. Buses ran between Hammond and Baton Rouge, but also we had a lot of freight, but also young men saying goodbye to their sweetheart and to their families as they got on the bus and probably headed toward Fort Polk. My age, if you know some people my age, you can probably hear a story, said that some of their memories were, as young boys, sitting in the windowsill of the drugstore or on the sidewalk and reading comic books and reading about Superman, and then when they got through, putting it back on a rack. And we encouraged that because it was a good place for them to be. Mamas knew where they knew they were. So because four men basically ran the store for a long time: Doc James, Siegel Hunstock, Millard Self, my dad Herman Crotwell, and we had Ezekiel Fuller also. Dr. Walker and Dr. Kemp's offices were in the back of the drugstore. You had to walk through the drugstore to do that. 1971, Doc James had an aneurysm by playing golf and passed away. And my dad, having come to work there about 1957, took over the drugstore, and he told me, "You're coming to work next week." And so I'm in my 55th year of working at James Drug Store. It's the only job I've ever had. Some other significant things is that my dad met my mother over the Coke box at James Drug Store. I met my wife 50 years ago over the Coke box at James Drug Store. So anyway, if any of y'all looking for somebody, come hang around the Coke box at James Drug Store. It's on my back porch, so if you come ask us, we'll let you stand out there and somebody might show up. It's changed my life forever. So in 1988, we bought out Griffon's drugstore. Things were changing in Denham, and there was a shift in where the commerce was going on. So it gave us an opportunity to have more parking area. And as that went with that, also we inherited the lunch counter, about 18 stools in there at that time. It's where James Grill or James Restaurant is open now. And in that was different hodgepodge of people that would come early in the morning, some with suits on, some dressed in blue jeans and getting ready for their jobs. But I tell you, there was a lot of conversation going on about sports and politics back then, if you can only imagine. And so I had two men tell me this week their memories of their childhood. Their grandfather would bring them on Saturdays to James Drug Store, which is now where Griffon's was, for a milkshake. And so I had two say that. So a lot of the world's problems were solved right there. We lost our lease in 2002, and we found out about that, so we searched out for a new place, and so we bought out where Sanders Mobile Homes was, and so we moved there. It gave us the opportunity to first time ever, to design a store that what we wanted, exactly what we wanted. You talked about computers. We were the first drugstore in Louisiana to have a computer, and that was probably in the late 70s at that time. We have robotics now that we run robots. Our top 200 drugs come out of a robot already signed, sealed, delivered with a label on it. And then had a drive-through window, and that's meant a lot. But the next part is I want to brag on my team, because this is not a one-person thing by all means. We have about 25 employees now from those 4 employees. We've been challenged in certain challenges, and the first one I would have to say was when Katrina hit New Orleans 20 years ago, and the influx of people that came from New Orleans. People who came that didn't have a whole lot, they were confused, and this was kind of an area that wasn't devastated, but they would show up. And I remember Dr. Walker, he told me, he says, if you can figure out what medication they were on the medications they take all the time, fix them up a 30-day supply, put my name on it. That was crazy times then, back then. We also serviced the shelters that were in the area, so we would get there about 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Now, the real kicker is that we didn't have electricity ourselves for about 10 days. So we managed to get a generator, gasoline, out the back door that would run one set of lights in the computer system. And we're talking about the middle of August. Our thermostats maxed out at 99 degrees. But you know what? I'm not telling you anything. You do whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And that's what those people needed at that time. As you know, it's almost 10 years since the 2016 flood. When we flooded, most of us, as y'all, had their houses inundated by the flood. When we managed to, Monday, to wait out from our house, get up to the drugstore, and it was amazing that we were not flooded. And so we were able to open that afternoon. And people started coming in during the week. We couldn't take away the pain that they had felt during that time. What we could do, what we determined is that someone needed to hear their story. We needed to listen to their story. And that's where I feel we served our best purpose, was to listen to people's story. They would tell a story as that we didn't think we were going to make it out alive. Or we laid in our bed, we held hands and said, we're just going to drown here. And as you heard those stories that tear at your heart, is that, excuse me, I have an answer to that, why not too many people lost their lives. It was amazing of all the destruction, but very, very loss of life. And it was the grace of God. It was the hand of Almighty God in that case. Of course, it's been about 6 years since COVID raised its ugly head, as we know. And so, at that time, we were able to work, but we couldn't let anybody into the store. And so we have drive-through window, but that couldn't handle all you talk about 6,000 people a month, 12,000 different people over a year get prescriptions filled. And so what we did was set up outside for 3 months' time. And so we basically, when somebody pulled up in the parking lot, we'd put them over to a spot. We'd say, okay, what's your name? Give me a date of birth. Who are you picking up for? The date of birth of that person. Give me your credit card. And they would trust us to go in there and do the transaction, come back out, hand it to them, and go. And so we did that for 3 months. And so that was, I felt that everybody really stepped up, And so you get to go know your customers through the stages of their life. I've been there long enough where I knew them where they were young parents. And then they were empty nesters. And then they were grandparents and proud of their grandparents, and we knew what they liked to do and things like this. And then later on, one of the spouses would eventually pass away, usually the male, and then eventually the female, and we've actually had 3 of those instances just this week. So I would like to turn to the table now and let you know who is here. My mother, Evelyn Crotwell, my brother Ken Crotwell, Beverly Herring. Beverly has been with us about 42 years. Joyce Adams has been with us 44 years. Don't worry, we got some young people back at the store, okay? And then there's Joyce Simcoe. She's our pharmacist in charge. Danielle Wingert, she's our technician, hair tech. And Joy's been with us 19 years. Danielle's been with us about 18 years. Arlene Carlton been, I would say, 18 years has been there. And I get the impression everybody stays at James Drugstore a long time. Not necessarily. We had a young lady come in one time as a technician on a Monday morning, and she said, after about 30 minutes, she said, I think I left my lights on. We haven't seen her since, okay? So anyway, and in closing, I would just like to say, you know, it's I thought that was maybe just a little drugstore, and we do that too. But you know, it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. You have a story you need to share. Thank you for listening to mine.